All right, and welcome back to the etching studio. We're going to try something a little more artsy-fartsy today. We have this attempt, as you can see, there are some remnants of a past attempt. I was trying to use wood glue to make a mask and put it on there so you can see the little splotches. I thought it was a good method to try to do something a little more abstract. And although it worked, I don't think I let the glue dry long enough. And while it was sitting under the water, yeah, it came off. So it was not a total fail, but it was not as impressive as I thought. So today what we're going to try, instead of glue, is this 3D fabric paint. It lasts on clothes under water and being washed, so why not on top of metal just being dumped into a bath of water, right? So we're going to give it a shot. First, I'm going to use my purple Scotch-Brite pad. I'm going to clean this up. You go ahead and get your highest isopropyl content. This is 91%. And you're going to keep cleaning this. So there you can kind of see our cleaned piece of metal. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this up real good. And then we will apply this. A little bit of water and some paint. Maybe that's a good amount, but we need more. At least it dilutes. So we want it more pasty, but not quite as pasty as what's in there. Yeah, a little more. Okay. We're just gonna go right for it. I don't even care. This is just a test, so if this works out, we do it again. Maybe not too much. We'll do that. So this is after a quick, splatter of the fabric paint. I've got it directly in the sun now. You can kind of see the traces of the old pattern in there now that it's here in the sun. Okay, so I'm over here at the sink about ready to do this. I'm estimating the amount of water that I want to use in the tub here. It's hot water now. I'm going to boil some water, not boil, but heat up some water with the salt on it to make sure the salt is diluted enough. But I was trying to think of a way to get this in the water and maybe suspend it in the water horizontally. So it's actually going to go in this way rather than sideways. Just because I can use less water that way, and it's something I haven't done before, so maybe it's worth a shot. What I came up with was maybe taking my leads here. I've got this piece of wire that if you look at my other videos, I clamp onto this with alligator clips. This is kind of the sacrificial wire, so if it gets messed up, it's easy to replace. It's just general household wire. What I did was I bent it, and I put these crimps in the end, and I think that this will just slide over the end and suspend this. Of course, I'm going to go in from the back here. Alright, so I've got this set up on my stick here, and I've got a piece of the wire exposed for the lead, and I've got the little bit of tension taken on, squeezing this together. You can see it's held on there pretty well. We'll suspend nicely in the water, face down rather. And then I think that'll be helpful because anything that etches will fall straight down rather than being a vertical surface. I don't know. We'll try it. So I'm going to put the negative lead in there underneath that, but maybe sort of it at an angle so not everything falls right on top of it. So now that I've got all the water that was in the plastic tub on the stove and it's hot, you can see it's getting warm. I'm going to add about half of this. This is a brand new container. I'm going to add about, it says 26 ounces. I'm going to add about 13 ounces of salt, probably a little more. You can't really go wrong. The more the better. Just means you're going to get more conductivity in the water. I'm going to add all the salt that I want. Stir it until you can't see any crystals anymore. Get this going. Alright, we've got the water. It is about 150 degrees. We've got the positive here set up to go. All the salt is diluted. It's about 13 ounces of salt in, I don't know, how many liters, 12 liters, maybe. It's all set. Now, we are good to go. So, we are going to take the negative and put it on the lead that connects to the negative that's on the base. That's connected. Going to get this in the water. And the back is covered with vinyl. I don't want to etch all of this, but I did cover it with vinyl just to protect it. Some of the edges will get messed up, but that doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and get it in there and try to avoid any air bubbles on the surface. So I'm going to wiggle it around just to be sure. That looks about perfect. So we're going to put the positive on the white lead that goes to the masked off piece of steel. Turn on the power supply. Alright, we're at 0 volts. 2 volts. Ultimately, you want to see some action in the water. So we're about 3 volts and 5 amps. You can see the water bubbling up from the negative behind. You see that? There, you can see the action. You don't want to really be breathing in the fumes, so I would guess wear a mask. Most of these fumes are due to the steam, but you can see it is definitely functioning. That's all you want to see. A little bit of action like that. Can we get down below and see anything? Not really. It's pretty murky, but you see how the water has already changed into a rust color. You can tell that it's working because that is going quickly. Yeah, I think maybe I do want to actually turn that a little bit so some of the stuff can, if these air bubbles are sitting in there. We're going to go ahead and see what this looks like real quick. Oh yeah, it's working nicely. You can see there's a solid etch across the board. It's changing the color evenly. It looks like the mask is holding up still. There we go, now it's submerged again. Alright, let's just let that sit for a while. We'll give it about a half an hour like this and we'll check back. Alright, we're back. It's about a half an hour later. I just want to get a close-up of these bubbles. It's pretty nice, pretty gross. And we're going to go ahead and pull this out of the deep, murky water. Still about 3 volts at 5 amps. So let's cut the power real quick. Oh yeah. Yeah, look at that disgusting stuff on there, huh? Take these off. This stuff is definitely holding up. I think it's time to rinse. And we're gonna go ahead and try to just rinse that off. Looks pretty good. Clean it off and put it back in maybe for another half an hour. You can't really see the old etch that was there before. Alright, let's go ahead and put it back in for another half an hour. You know what I'm gonna try to do is give it a little more of a slant. So we're gonna go up a little higher and give it a little slant down, such as this. Of course, we're going to need some more water now. Oh, yeah. That looks great. That looks so good. Alright, I think it's probably time to pull it. It's been an hour now total. One more time. You see all this dark stuff will just disappear. Alright. What do we got? How's that look? It's definitely better than the last result. So, screen printing ink works, or fabric paint, whatever you want to call it. Very cool. Alright, we're going to reapply some stuff and do another etch, so we'll affect these edges, and some of this will disappear now. Maybe some kind of geometric pattern over the top. We'll see. We'll leave it at that for now. Alright, so we're back. I started with this piece of plastic. It's a toothpick container and it has a nice small circle on it. It's like a rubber stamper. I'm going to put some more geometric shapes on top of this for the second mask. And we're going to see how that looks. So I've been just taking a little bit on here. Let's get this dried up and get it into the water. I think in hindsight what I should have done was left the ink on top of the other splatters because just like a design or you know, when you're printing something, you want the majority of the coverage to be first, and you're building up in layers, getting smaller as you go, so you're stacking based on scale and size and coverage rather than the image here. So I think what we're going to do, because now I'm going to etch and we're going to lose some of these dark spots that were the high spots because the mask is gone, see? So what I'm probably going to end up doing is etching this now, seeing what this does, and then leaving these circles on here, and then maybe adding some more circles and doing it again. So then it will actually do kind of the effect I was looking for. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is all just experimentation and fun. So here we go. So I've got more salt in here just to refresh this a little. I'm going to put hot water in the cup, stir up some of this salt water, and then add some of the hot water to the tank. I think that helps with the etch. So we've got the hooks back on. It's ready to go. We're going to submerge this into the solution. So now I've got my salt water that I've mixed up here. There's no more crystals of salt. So I'm going to add some more salt water to the mix. As you can see, it's warm. It'll just make the temperature a little warmer overall. And then add this hot water here. Good enough. Alright, I think we're getting a good thing. We've got 3.8 volts and 5 amps. And we're just going to let this go for another hour. You can see the bubbles starting to happen. It's been almost an hour. I think what I'm going to do is pull it a little soon and then apply some more fabric paint in a different texture on top of this and then put it in again. I'm going to pull it now. Have a look. Have a little look-see. Yeah, see, it's actually done some cool stuff with that other texture underneath, so I think we're going to be okay. Alright, so we've got it out of there, out of the bath. I think it's pretty cool. What we're going to do is apply some more ink, but I'm going to dry this off real quick, just give you a quick look. You can see the multiple textures now, and the circles are starting to come out. Yep, so that is good. So we're going to go ahead and finish drying this up and then apply some more white paint. Put some more paint down and repeat the process like I did before, but instead this time I have a little bit larger circle and then go over this in less circles, but over the top, and then we're going to go ahead for about another half an hour in the etch. Alright, so we just gotta let that dry, and we're gonna go ahead and do another dip in the bath after we let this dry. Yep, still got 4 volts, 5 amps. We'll let it run for a half an hour and we'll check back and see what that looks like. Let's try to rinse off some of that funk water. That looks pretty nice, I think. Let's see if it's deep enough. Alright, now we're seeing some results. There's definitely multiple layers of things going on here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put it in for at least another half an hour just because, why not? There's where we're at. If we don't lose it on the way. Okay, well now we're at 5 volts again, that's good. Alright, so we'll leave that another half hour and we'll check back. So we're back. I just pulled this out and rubbed a few little spots here to get the fabric paint off there. Can you see this right here where that's shinier? Oh, that works out great. And this is one of those scrubby, so there's no metal on this. It's got some cool things going on in there. I've been staring at this thinking about how I can improve on this whole technique, and I think it just needs more time. I have a cool texture. I have an idea in my head that just didn't make it. I referenced it earlier in the video when I said that I should have used the bigger splotches. I should have left the paint on there so I could have had the bigger layers at the bottom and then slowly get smaller as you go to the top. That's an important part of this whole procedure. But what I'm doing today is I'm going to actually do something weird because I don't want this to be a loss. You can see the depth in these. They're just not deep enough. And my goal was to make this look more intense. This is cool, But I wanted something different. But again, like I said, this was just an experiment. There was no real goal here other than to try the screen printing ink as a resist, and that definitely functions. To get a usable, awesome looking thing out of this, what I'm going to do is go over these circles that you see with screen printing ink and then put it back in the tub for, you know, hours and hours. I'm just going to leave it in this afternoon and see what happens. It's a large surface area. It's going to take a while to etch. And my goal was almost to make it look like it had happened naturally, like it wasn't really man-made, maybe something that came off the floor of a shop or something, you know, something a little more organic. So it's kind of like that, but I want more. I want more depth in there. So let's stop talking and just coat this with some ink and get it back in the bath, and we'll do what we're going to do. Alright, let's get ready. I've got some brand new black screen printing ink here. I'm just going to take a little bit of this and put it on the side. And then we're going to get some white. We try to hit the same spots first. Okay, I just finished drying off the fabric paint with the hair dryer after letting it sit for the majority of the time on its own, just to finish it off and make sure it was dry. Put it in the solution here, and without heating the water today, it's at 5 amps and 3.1, 3.2 volts, and that's without heating the water. So I think it does help slightly to heat the water. I think stirring it would help also, but it's good enough now. It's 3 volts, 5 amps. We're gonna let it sit. It's doing its thing. It's starting to bubble in there, and we'll be back. All right, well, we're constantly learning here today, and always, I guess, technically, we're always learning. Here's the thing. I tried, if you remember, I had actual screen printing ink that was black, and the white stuff here is the fabric paint. So, here's something. The fabric paint is still holding up. After an hour and 30 minutes of being under the etch, in the etching, you know, in the water, the black screen printing ink, actual screen printing ink, has come off. So when I spoke earlier about this fabric paint being the same as screen printing ink, there is something different about it. It has a different chemical compound, and I will investigate further on this. But this is something, it's interesting to learn and figure this out. I still think this is going to be cool because there's enough coverage of this white thing to let it go. But I'm going to keep going with this and get this as deep as I can, and I think the white will be fine. It's just good to know. Fabric paint does hold up as a mask. The black screen printing ink for regular screen printing does not. And here's, if you just rinse it off, you can see it just rubs right off. If I rub the white fabric paint, it does not. We're going to get all the black off, seeing as it wants to come off anyways. And then we're going to stick it right back in there. All right. It's the next day. I cleaned off some of the bits of fabric paint to show the depth that we've gotten. I didn't want to take all of them off because I just wanted to show that they do in fact hold up. This is about 5 hours of etching, and these are still on there quite well. I'm going to go ahead and clean these off and then give us one final look on this, and then we'll do a wrap-up and see what we can do next time to improve on the process. But I just wanted to test the fabric paint. It seems like it held up for about 5 hours. I think that's probably plenty to get a good etch done. And let's clean this up and get the rest of these little bits off of there. All right, and we're back. We have washed off all of the fabric paint, and this is what we are left with after yesterday's final etch. You can see that it did retain some of the background stuff. Not a lot of it, but some. There is some detail in there. I have another light here on the side I'm going to turn on just to show you a little bit more of the depth. See if we put that on. Yeah, see, look, you can see the depth on there now. I think it's a pretty cool look. You know, it's not a total fail, it's not total success, but it worked. My next agenda will be to do this in a little bit more of a controlled technique now that I have done this. And I figured I've filmed it, so I might as well share it with everybody here. Here it is after about 5 hours after all the other stuff we did. I think it looks pretty cool. I think there's probably some potential with this fabric paint to do some weird stuff. This was just an experiment. We learned a few things along the way. Temperature is not as crucial as I had thought, although it does help in diluting the salt in the water and getting a nice mix originally. So that's probably a good idea. But other than that, yeah, fabric paint's good. Screen printing ink is not. Here's what we have. I appreciate you if you're still here. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for commenting. If you like the video or any of the other stuff, please click like. Go ahead and subscribe. Click the notifications so next time I post, you'll hear about it. Check me out on the Instagram at fleanine, my website, toomanymorons.com. For now, we're going to leave it here. I appreciate you coming by. And until next time, thank you so much. It's actually it was in the etching solution. The fabric paint going. Oh my god! I just cut myself on this thing. Damn. All right. So we're back. It's the following day. This was in the etching solution for about 5 hours total.